Let's try something a little different tonight. Instead of following someone else's story, I want you to imagine living it yourself. Picture waking up tomorrow morning, not in your own bed, but somewhere in medieval Europe, sometime around the year 1300. No modern comforts, no modern conveniences. Just you and a single day to get through. Settle in, get comfortable, and let's walk through exactly why. Honestly, you probably wouldn't last very long at all. Your day begins before sunrise, because in the medieval world, there's no such thing as sleeping in. If it's summer, you're awake by 3 or 4 in the morning, the moment the sky starts to lighten. There's no alarm clock and no gentle transition into the day. The sun simply decides when your work begins, and you follow along, because the entire rhythm of medieval life is built around daylight. Waste even an hour of it, and you're wasting something you can never get back. You rise from a simple straw-filled mattress, likely shared with several other family members in a single small room. There's no separate bedroom for you, no privacy in the way we understand it today. Around 90% of the population in medieval Europe are peasants, and your home reflects that reality completely. A modest cottage with an earthen floor, thin walls, and barely any ventilation. Depending on the season, your family's animals might be sleeping just a few feet away from you, sharing the same enclosed space to stay warm through the night. Already, within the first few minutes of your day, you'd likely notice something modern life rarely prepares you for: the smell. Hearth smoke clings permanently to the wool clothing everyone wears. Livestock live close by. Waste disposal is crude at best, often nothing more than tossing it into the street or a nearby cesspit. Daily bathing, as we think of it, simply doesn't happen. Soap exists, but it's expensive, harsh on the skin, and reserved mostly for special occasions rather than everyday use. You'd adjust to the smell eventually, the way everyone around you already has, but that first morning it would be genuinely overwhelming. Breakfast, if you can call it that, is simple and quick. A thick slice of coarse brown bread, maybe with a bit of cheese if your family has any to spare. If you're very fortunate, there might be some bacon or salted pork left from the last slaughter. Interestingly, medieval peasant food is actually more nutritious than popular imagination gives it credit for: hearty vegetables, grains, and even salmon, which was so plentiful along many rivers that it was considered ordinary, everyday food rather than any kind of luxury. Still, meals are repetitive, and there's rarely much variety from one day to the next. Personal hygiene, at least, is more resourceful than you might expect. You'd clean your teeth by chewing on a hazel twig, rubbing a little salt against your teeth for abrasion, and maybe a clove for scent if you happen to have one. Soap, when it's used at all, is made simply by mixing animal fat with wood ash. It's crude, but it works. Still, lice and fleas are a constant, unavoidable companion for almost everyone in this era, peasant and noble alike. There's no real solution, just constant, quiet coexistence with the itching. Once breakfast is finished, the real work of your day begins, and this is where things get genuinely brutal. If you're a man in a farming family, you're heading straight out to the fields, plowing, planting, tending livestock, or harvesting, depending entirely on the season. The work is done almost completely by hand, using simple tools like a scythe, a sickle, or a basic wooden plow. There's no machinery to help you. Every single task depends entirely on raw human effort, hour after hour, for as long as the daylight allows. A typical workday for a medieval serf runs somewhere between 12 and 15 hours, 6 days a week, and this isn't optional. Under the feudal system, a portion of everything you grow or produce belongs to the local lord who controls the land you're farming, in exchange for the right to live and work there at all. If you're a woman, your day looks different, but it's really no easier. Managing the household, preparing food, tending a garden, spinning wool into thread, and caring for children fills nearly every waking hour. And childbirth itself carries a genuinely terrifying risk in this era. Roughly 1 in 5 women die during childbirth, and about half of all infants don't survive their very first year of life. It's a sobering, constant reality that shapes nearly every family in medieval society, something people live alongside their entire lives, grieving losses in ways that would be almost unthinkable to most of us today. Let's say it's midday now, and you pause briefly for a short rest, maybe a bit more bread, perhaps a simple pottage of boiled vegetables, if your family has anything set aside. There's no real lunch break in the way we think of one, just a brief pause, before returning immediately to the fields or your household duties. The sun is your only real clock, and it doesn't care how tired you already are. By this point in the day, you'd probably also be dealing with something modern medicine has made almost invisible to us: the constant, looming threat of disease. A simple cut on your hand, something you'd barely think twice about today, could become seriously infected and genuinely life-threatening with no antibiotics available to help you. Clean drinking water isn't guaranteed either. Many water sources are contaminated, which is actually one of the major reasons weak ale becomes such a common daily drink instead, since the brewing process makes it noticeably safer to consume than the water itself. Average life expectancy hovers somewhere in the 30s, and living past 40, as a peasant, is genuinely considered unusual rather than expected. As afternoon stretches on, you might be called away from your usual tasks entirely. Beyond farming your own family's strip of land, peasants are also expected to maintain the wider village, repairing roads, clearing forest land, thatching roofs, or helping with whatever larger communal project the local lord happens to require that particular week. Your labor doesn't just belong to you and your family. In very real, legal terms, it partially belongs to someone else entirely. As evening finally begins to fall, you head back home, exhausted in a way that's genuinely hard to describe unless you've lived it. Not just tired, but the kind of full-body exhaustion that comes from an entire day of continuous, demanding physical labor. Dinner is another simple, modest meal, eaten by the dim, flickering light of a rushlight, a strip of dried plant fiber dipped in animal fat. Since candles, like soap, are considered something of a luxury, most peasant families simply can't justify using every single night. And then, once again, you sleep. Not in a bed the way we understand one today, but on straw, surrounded by family, animals close by, the smell of smoke and livestock settle deep into the fabric of everything around you. Tomorrow, the entire process begins again, exactly the same, with very little to distinguish one day from the next. So here's the honest, blunt truth. Would you actually survive this? Physically, the labor alone would likely break most modern bodies within just the first week. The malnutrition, the disease, the complete and total lack of modern medicine, these things claimed the lives of a huge percentage of the population well before what we would now consider middle age. And that's without even mentioning warfare, famine, or outright plague, all of which could sweep through a village and devastate it within a matter of days. But here's the part of this story that often gets overlooked entirely. Life in the medieval world wasn't purely relentless, joyless misery from start to finish. There were genuine moments of real community and connection, religious festivals, weddings, harvest celebrations, moments where an entire village would come together for music, dancing, and shared food. Briefly setting aside the endless grind of daily survival, people fell in love. Parents adored their children fiercely, even knowing full well the very real risks those children faced. Neighbors relied on each other constantly, in ways that created a kind of tight, practical community bond that's honestly become far rarer in our more modern, individualistic world. It was, without question, an exceptionally difficult life by any modern standard. But it was also, in its own quiet way, a genuinely full one, lived by real people who found real meaning within it, even under circumstances most of us today can barely begin to imagine enduring ourselves. So the next time you're lying in your own soft bed tonight, in a room that doesn't smell like smoke or livestock, with clean water just a few steps away and medicine within easy reach if you ever need it, take just a quiet moment to genuinely appreciate it. You've made it further today than most of medieval Europe's population ever even got the chance to. Let that thought settle now, slowly, gently. There's nothing more you need to think about tonight. Just let it go, and let sleep finally take you.